I go to Narv Shabbos. This week's Parshas, Parshas Vayikra. Parshas Vayikra, of course, deals with the Karbanis, and in Parshas Vayikra we have the somewhat famous pasuk of Al Kol Karbanecha Takrav Melach. On every carbon, salt has to be added. I always found this to be a very intriguing concept, that Karbanis all have to have salt on them. After all, what's the point of having salt on a carbon that gets completely burnt and sent up to Hashem? So I always thought that there was something more to it, and I'll get back to what my thoughts are on it in a minute. But this concept of adding salt, the Mea Shiluach explains that the mitzvah of adding salt is an allusion to the concept of yira, of fear. What does that mean? I'll explain. There's a Chazal that says that in the beginning of creation, the waters, the whole world was full of water until Hashem separated between the upper waters and the lower waters. But then the lower waters, the oceans, the rivers, the lakes, they complained to Hashem and they said, hey, that's not fair. How come the other waters get to be so close to Hashem and we have to stay down here so far from Hashem? That's not fair. So in order to compensate for that, the Rabban Shalom said, you know what? We're going to take the salt that's made from your waters. We're going to take the salt and we're going to make them put it on every carbon so that a part of you will always come back up to Shemayim. And in that way, that appeased the lower waters. But that's also, the Meshulach says that also gives a little bit of the concept of din. It's a little bit of a harsh judgment that was given to the lower waters. They complained about it, but at the end, it's really too bad. And that's just the judgment of the Rabban Shalom. That's what Hashem, maybe it wasn't to their liking, but it doesn't matter. We have to sometimes just accept the decrees that come from the Rabban Shalom. Sometimes there is no reason. Sometimes we're not happy with it, but we have to just accept it. Carbon, of course, the word carbon comes from the word karev, to be close. We know that today we have tefillah b'makam karbanis, that we daven instead of bringing karbanis, and that comes from the concept of karev, of being close. We want to be close to Hashem. That's why we daven, to be close to Hashem. But as close as you could get to Hashem, it shouldn't be a buddy-buddy type of a thing. It still needs to be a little bit of yira, a little bit of awe and reverence, a little bit of the concept of din, that the Rabban Shalom is in charge of. There has to be a little bit of fear. It's the same thing when you become close with a Rebbe and become close with a mentor. It's good to be close, but that aspect of reverence for a Rav or a Rebbe, that has to be there, no matter how close you can get with a Rav. So that is one thing. But there's another way to look at this also, and I've always thought this about this pasuk, and that is, and I saw Ephraim Goldberg brings from the Tiferes Uziel, and he says a different insight. He says, without salt, food is bland. So what does that mean? It means that the Torah is telling us that whenever we do something to be karev, whenever we're doing something for the Rabban Shalom to be close to Hashem, whether it's learning or davening or doing mitzvahs, any type of mitzvah, takrav melach, bring it with a little bit of salt. Don't just do it. It shouldn't just feel like you're doing it by rote. Spice it up a little bit. Add some salt. Do it with enthusiasm. Do it with energy. That's the lesson of adding salt. The mitzvah should never be bland. The Torah should never be bland. And certainly our experience of trying to become close with Hashem shouldn't be a bland type of a thing. If it's bland, maybe you have to relook at it. You have to take another look at how you're becoming close to Hashem. We should always try to be close to Hashem. We should always try our best in our own ways. Everyone has their own way, but it should be with energy. It should be with enthusiasm. Find a way to connect to the Rabban Shalom. And remember, Al Kol Karbanecha Takrav Melach. However you're becoming close to Hashem, however you're trying to connect to Hashem, it should be with enthusiasm, with a little bit of flavor. Have a wonderful Shabbos.